So I watched Mortal Kombat tonight, and so I'm doing a movie review for it. Uh, where to begin? Um, this movie is dumb as shit, but it's really stupid. It's a stupid movie, but it's just the right amount of stupid, is what it is. It is the perfect amount of stupid. It for what you're expecting. You shouldn't really be expecting a very intelligent movie from this. For starters, it's a video game movie. They're almost always dumb, and they're usually very poorly made. Though this one isn't that bad. Oh shit. Um, I mean, hell, there was a Mortal Kombat movie made almost 30 years ago now that was way worse than this one. I mean, it was terrible. It looked terrible. The action scenes were terrible. The only thing it had going for it was that it had a ridiculous fucking theme song that everybody remembers. That's the only thing everybody remembers about it, was the ridiculous techno music from it, which they actually play at the end of this movie. They would play a remake of that song during the credits. So a nice little throwback, a nice little callback to that movie. But this one is definitely better. It includes a lot of fan favorite characters, and it sets up a very simplistic story that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But it runs through it very quickly because they recognize the story is not that important here. People are here for the action, so we just have a little bit of exposition and character setup just to move on to the next fight scene, because that's all anybody wants to see. The movie starts actually in the 17th century, weirdly enough, where it shows a guy named Hanzo Hirashi or some shit like that, this Japanese ninja, and he's with his family at their home. And it's this very nice scene and setting up knowing that like something terrible is about to happen. So of course, while he's out getting water for something terrible happens. A Chinese warrior named something, I don't remember what. He shows up and kills Hanzo's family. Apparently, they come from like rival clans that are at war with each other, and so I think his name is Bin Han or something like that shows up and just kills this dude's family. Now, of course, the guy who shows up to kill Hanzo's family has like ice powers where he can like generate ice and freeze people. He's Sub-Zero, basically, before he was Sub-Zero. And he kills the dude's family, everyone except for his infant daughter, who Hanzo's wife hides before Sub-Zero shows up. And then Hanzo kills all of the Chinese dude's men, and then the two of them fight, and they go at each other pretty hard, but Sub-Zero wins and walks away only with a few injuries himself. And then just as he dies, Hanzo, who is like trying to reach out for his infant daughter, who he can hear crying so he knows she's still alive, he dies and then he disappears in flames. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And you notice that at some point you notice that he had a mark on him, like that matched the Mortal Kombat symbol. And so it's like a weird birthmark, or almost looks like a burn or something. So he dies after they fight. It's a pretty good fight. Honestly, the best fights are between Scorpion and Sub-Zero, because I think like the two actors they got to play them are guys who I think have like experience with martial arts and fighting, so I don't think they needed like a bunch of stunt actors to do their shit for them. They could actually do it themselves, and it looks really good and it looks really cool. So It's just their fight scenes really look the best out of anybody's in the movie. So yeah, Hanzo dies, and he disappears in flames, leaving you to realize this is going to be Scorpion. He actually at one point fights, like he takes a blade that his wife was digging in the dirt with, and he wraps it in a rope, and he uses that as a weapon, kind of like an allusion to the dagger and chain that Scorpion later uses. And he ends up getting stabbed to death with that, so he has his blood on it. So after he dies and Sub-Zero leaves, Raiden shows up, and he finds Scorpion's daughter and just takes her to keep her safe or something. Then we fast forward to modern day. So now here we are, jumping ahead almost 400 years, about 400 years later. We're now following an MMA fighter named Cole Young, who is not a character from the movies. He's a character from the movie. He's not a character from the video games. He's a character made up for the movie. And he's there with, he's getting his hands taped up by his wife, and he's there with his daughter, and he goes into an MMA fight, and he loses. He seems like a good fighter, but he's like too aggressive. It ends up losing. And basically he's just getting paid to lose fights, not to throw them just because they know he's going to lose. And while he's fighting, you see some black guy walk in, and it's like, oh, this guy, the way they center on him, it's like, oh, obviously this guy's going to be somebody important. And he talks to Cole after his fight that he loses, and tells him, his name's Jax, and he says, oh, I saw that dragon tattoo you had. He's like, oh, it's the Cole's daughter says it's not a tattoo, it's a birthmark that he was born with. So yeah. So Cole meets up with his wife, and he takes his family, and they're going out to get something to eat. And while they're eating, it starts snowing. I don't know what city they were supposed to be in, but it kind of looked like LA. And then while they see it snowing, his wife points out that it's July, so it definitely shouldn't be snowing no matter where it is. And that's when you see that Sub-Zero has shown up, and he's there to attack Cole and his family. Just as he's attacking, Jack shows up again in an SUV and gets Cole and his family out of there. And then they kind of come around to this alleyway, and they see that Sub-Zero's already there. Jax gets out, tells Cole to take the truck and to go to these certain locations so he can meet with Sonya Blade. And he also explains that he has a birthmark just like Cole does on him too. He has the same dragon marking on him. And that they're picked for some sort of fight. It's also explained in like text exposition that there's a tournament that takes place regularly called Mortal Kombat, and that 9 out of the last 10 fights have been won by these group of guys from a place called Outer Realm. Like, I guess there's like many realms, and they fight in Mortal Kombat, and Outer Realm has won the last 9 out of 10 fights. So combatants from the Outer Realm fight combatants from the Earth Realm, and if Outer Realm, I guess, wins 10 tournaments in a row, they get to like basically just take out Earth. They get to conquer Earth Realm and make everyone their slaves. I don't know why this is a rule. This is never explained in the movie whatsoever. Anyways, back to Jax confronts Sub-Zero. They fight. Sub-Zero beats him. He freezes his arms and breaks them, and then kicks him, and then just basically just tosses him, down into they're in a construction site. He just tosses him off a fucking edge and down onto the ground. And instead of, a guy who's been an effective killer for the past... They never explain why Sub-Zero is still alive 400 plus years later, he's now working for the Outer Realm. He's now one of the Outer Realm champions. They never explain why he's still alive 400 years later. I'm assuming it has something to do with being one of the Outer Realm champions or something. I don't know. Somehow he just doesn't age anymore. It doesn't make any sense. It's like I said, never explained. And this killer, who's been an effective killer for the past 400 years, doesn't bother to check to make sure the guy he just brutally maimed is actually dead. He just assumes he'll be dead. Then we go to Outer Realm, where I think we already saw Outer Realm earlier. Actually, we saw Shang Tsung talking to Sub-Zero about something. Now we go back to Outer Realm, and Melina shows up, and she reports to Shang Tsung, Sub-Zero just killed Jax, and they're like, okay, well, we need to find the others, and so he orders her to send Reptile to go find them. And so now Cole goes off to, he gets his family safe, and he goes off to find Sonya Blade. He finds her. She shows him that, what she and Jax have discovered, and apparently they have like a secret bunker in Sonya Blade's house where they have like a lunatic wall or a lunatic room where the walls are just taped up with like information and shit, and they also have a guy locked up in there. It's Kano, and he's apparently a criminal who represents a group called the Black Dragons, and they took him captive. Sonya gives the biggest bout of exposition here, because she reveals that Mortal Kombat is a tournament that has been taking place for hundreds of years. Basically, what I explained before is that Outer Realm fights Earth Realm, and if Outer Realm wins another tournament, I don't think they actually know that part yet, but that Outer Realm fights Earth Realm. And apparently the contestants are chosen as people who bear the mark, that dragon mark. But very few people are born with it. Usually they get it through they fought and killed another person, and then they get the mark. That's how Jax got his. He and Sonya Blade were soldiers. They're special forces soldiers. He killed somebody who had the mark, and then he got the mark. That's how Kano got his mark too. He also killed somebody who got the mark, and that's how Sonya and Jax found him. They were looking for that guy, and they found Kano instead after he killed him. While they're talking, Reptile shows up. They fight him. Kano ends up killing him by ripping his heart out. Just like in the game, that's his finishing move. He rips his heart out. Pretty much everyone gets to do one of their finishing moves in the game, from the game in the movie. Almost everybody, but a lot of people do. It's a ridiculous movie. So then Sonya gets Kano to agree to join them so he can take them to the Temple of Raiden, because he saw a picture of it and goes, oh yeah, it's the Temple of Raiden, I know where that is, and he takes them. She promises to pay him $2 million that she doesn't have. And when they go to the Temple of Raiden, oh shit. When they go to the Temple of Raiden, they find Liu Kang, who takes them the rest of the way. He takes them into the Temple of Raiden, where he introduces them to Raiden, who seems very unimpressed with the group of champions. They also meet Kung Lao. Liu Kang and Kung Lao reveal that they're both like these Shaolin monks from a special group. And I guess Kung Lao is a descendant from a previous champion, so he's considered very special, while Liu Kang was an orphan who was taken in, and he doesn't think very highly of himself. And apparently he inherited his mark after he killed a guy who sold child slaves and shit like that. It's all very whatever. But they also reveal that everyone with a mark will develop a special ability, something that they have to train and learn how to develop. like it's something special to them having to do that comes from their soul. Like you know, Sub-Zero has his ice powers. Fucking Liu Kang can throw fire. Kung Lao has his weird magic bladed hat. Raiden's just a god, so he can control lightning. Raiden's just a god, so he can control lightning, is what I just said, in case you didn't understand that. Yeah, so they basically say that since Sonya doesn't have a mark, that she's essentially useless. They find out that Jax is still alive and that he's been brought to the temple to help heal. And Liu Kang says, yeah, he's like, his arms are broken off, but the freezing cauterized the wound, so he didn't bleed out, and he survived the fall because for some reason Sub-Zero didn't check. So he's like, but we'll keep him here, and they'll just leave him to let him heal him, and they'll do what he does. They'll do what they do, and so yeah. So basically now it's a training montage. It's like a minor training montage. It shows it shows it shows Kung Lao training with Cole, and tries to explain to him how they try to explain to him how, since you have the mark, you have to learn to develop you have to focus and learn to develop whatever your ability is. I also like they made weird little allusions to the game, like when Kano trains with Liu Kang just keeps doing this move where he just kind of like does a lower spin kick to like fucking trip him, and he just keeps doing that over and over. And I remember that from the actual game when people would do that. It was a thing that people referred to as cheaping, where you would just do the same move over and over just to fucking keep people off their game. It was like a move where people couldn't escape from it, or it would keep them off their footing, so it would fuck them up, so you could just keep doing it to them over and over because they didn't have time to recover from it. It was either doing that or keeping somebody pinned into a corner was referred to as cheaping, because it was considered a cheap way to win the game. But people would do it. I like that they made a little allusion to that in the movie. It was kind of cute. So yeah, there's training. They reveal that Jax has been... The Shaolin monks in this weird fucking ancient temple were able to give Jax like these tiny, weak little robot arms that suck. I don't know why they didn't give him better arms. Somehow it's like you're able to give a guy robot arms. You think you'd be able to give him, like good robot arms, but no, they give him these puny little robot arms. And eventually they managed to coax Kano into developing his power, and it's just shooting a laser out of his eye. Earlier when Kano fought Reptile, like half his face was like scarred up really bad. And in the video games, Kano has this weird like metal robot eye, and that's how he's able to shoot a laser out of it. Here in this movie, they just explain that that's his weird magic power he develops, is that he's just able to shoot a laser out of his eye. But only the one eye, which is just weird. But, yeah, so he can shoot a laser out of his eye, and this makes Cole realize, like, I'm not developing my power, and he feels like a failure, and Raiden basically tells him that he's a failure, and so he goes, so I'll just send you back home. Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention that fucking Shang Tsung showed up earlier with Melina and Sub-Zero, and, he's like, he's like, we're gonna just kill you now. And Raiden says, he's like, yeah, you're not supposed to fight until the tournament. And Shang Tsung says, yeah, I know, but we don't care. And then, Raiden, instead of fighting Shang Tsung there, he just sort of uses power to create a barrier that they can't pass through with his magic staff or some shit. And he's like, so basically they have to keep the barrier stays up until until the actual tournament takes place, or the tournament's actually supposed to start. But then Cole's like, I feel like a failure, so I don't belong here. So Raiden sends him away, even though he's one of the chosen people. And the minute he's defenseless on his own, he's going to get attacked because he's not protected anymore. Now, while this happens, it shows Shang Tsung in Outer Realm, and he's gathered more people. So now on his side, Reptile's dead. So you got Shang Tsung leading Sub-Zero, Melina. They then add the Batwing chick, Nitara, Raiko, Cabal. I feel like there's someone else. Raiko, Cabal. And, oh yeah, Goro shows up too, the big forearm fucking guy. Now, Cabal is, like, not all these people are from NetherRealm, like Sub-Zero, some of them are human, and they just joined the Outer Realm people. And they join the Outer Realm to, gain favor for themselves. So, Cabal apparently knows Kano, and he goes to meet. He sneaks into the part of the temple that the Outer Realm people can actually get into, and he makes a deal with Kano, and he cuts a deal with Kano for him to betray the Earth Realm people to join the Outer Realm people, and he does by destroying Raiden's staff that was keeping the barrier up. When that happens, they attack. Almost all of them attack, and they do a pretty good job of fucking everybody up. Like the people that are there that are still on the Earthrealm side fight the Outer Realm people, but they get their asses handed to them. Jax can't fight worth shit with his puny little arms, and he gets fucked up by Raiko, and Sonya Blade gets fucked up by Melina, and Melina almost has her, but then realizes she doesn't have a mark, so she's not even worth killing. Cabal is fighting Liu Kang, and Cabal has like these weird like super speed powers. Melina, she can teleport. Kung Lao tries to attack Shang Tsung but misses, and then he has to fight Nitara. It's not much of a fight because he ends up like playing possum for her and tricks her, and then he like he forces her down into like his bladed hat that he makes spin. So he basically does his ridiculous fucking finishing move that like splits her in two like she's going through a buzzsaw. And they do like the fucking things like they say like finish him and like flawless victory and shit like that. It's ridiculous. It's utterly ridiculous. Meanwhile, back at home, Cole gets attacked. Cole and his family get attacked by Goro, and he's getting his ass handed to him until a point where his wife tries to help him, and then she and their kid get attacked. And of course, that's the thing that triggers his magic power that hadn't been kicking into place. And all of a sudden, he has like he gets like this weird like armored going down like his torso, which is a really good thing to have in a fight, to have an armored body, especially when you're fighting a giant four-armed monster. And as he like takes hits from the monster, you see like the armor glow, like it's absorbing the hits, and it seems to make his attack stronger. And when he absorbs enough, like he develops these weird like blade, like almost like they kind of like a billy club, but like with a blade on the end. And then he manages to fucking kill Goro with those. At which point, Raiden opens another portal for him, and he just leaves his family again, even though they just got attacked and are obviously sitting ducks and could be easily used against them. And he goes to temple where the others are getting their asses handed to them. Um, at a certain point, fucking both Sonya and Jax got thrown over the edge into the like over the edge of a wall into this little part, and Sonya got like covered in debris, and Jax tries to help her, but he can't at first because of his weak little sucky robot arms, and then his power kicks in, and his power is to grow better robot arms. I don't understand how that's a power that like how that's your magic power is like your robot arms get better, but that's what his magic power is, and now he has these big, cool, strong robot arms, and he's able to help Sonya, and it's just like then they all teleport away. But just as Cole is about to be teleported away, he gets attacked by Sub-Zero, so he's going to be left alone. But then, like, Kung Lao jumps in to help him, and then Kung Lao ends up getting attacked by Shang Tsung, who steals a soul, and, you know, that demoralizes Liu Kang a little bit, but they all get away, and they go to this realm where they will be safe because it's between Earth Realm and Nether Realm, or the Outer Realm. And while they're there, Raiden explains to Cole how he's a descendant from Hanzo, and that's why he was born with his mark. I think actually he might have explained that earlier. I'm really remembering this terribly. I only just watched this tonight. And yeah. Yeah. So he says that like he can like he shows him like the blade that Hanzo was killed with, and now it has his blood on it and all this shit, and that he could still like somehow commune with his ancestor that way, because I guess Hanzo was so dead set on revenge to for Sub-Zero killing his family that he basically like in hell became like this vengeful spirit. So at this point, then all of a sudden Cole becomes like the leader of the group and explains like what they have to do is, you know, since the other guys are cheating, why don't they cheat a little bit? And they'll hold the tournament their way. So he has Raiden teleport each of the bad guys to different places with each of the good guys from Earthrealm, so they can fight one-on-one, so it's no more of this group shit. So they send Jax to go fight Raiko, and he beats him pretty handily, and he smashes his fucking head. They send Sonya to go kill Kano, and she does. She ends up stabbing him through his fucking eye, and then she gets the mark herself. Liu Kang has a rematch with Cabal, and he ends up using his fire powers to fucking create a dragon made of fire, who ends up killing Cabal. And Cole fights Melina, and she uses her teleporting powers to get the drop him. She like teleports. Each time she teleports while she's in front of him, she just teleports behind him. But she keeps doing this, and he never figures it out. It's like she teleports, and he's like looking everywhere. It's like, look behind you, moron. You know, the same place she keeps teleporting, behind you. But she does it again, and he just is like, whatever. He gets attacked. And then Sonya shows up, and right away she has her magic power, and she can shoot these like weird little sonic blasts out of her hands, and she shoots a hole right through Melina, and so then they win. And then while this was happening, Sub-Zero showed up at Cole's house and took his family hostage. And so after they win their respective fights, they all decided, well, they can't take on Sub-Zero alone. They have to take him on as a group because he's the toughest. But then Sub-Zero shows up and shows Cole, like, this. His daughter makes these weird little, like, braided bracelets. And he shows the bracelet that she has, and he freezes it and breaks it, and then goes off into, like, the weird, like, teleporting smoke that Shang Tsung makes. And Cole, in his anger, follows him in, and it's back at the gym where he was fighting before, but now it's all covered in ice, and his family is all iced up there. And he fights Sub-Zero, and he doesn't do very well. He gets his ass kicked. And at one point, he attacks Sub-Zero with the blade that his ancestor Hanzo had, and he tries to attack him with it. Sub-Zero takes it from him, and he tries to attack Cole with it. Cole grabs it, and it cuts his hand. And somehow when it cuts his hand, that does something that ends up summoning Scorpion, who's now in full-on Scorpion regalia. He shows up and he starts fighting Sub-Zero, and he reveals to Sub-Zero like who he is. He's like, when he died, he said, "Remember this face." And so when he comes back, he takes off his mask. He says, "Remember this face." And then the two of them fight while Cole tries to free his family. And now it's the best fight in the movie again. Like, this is a cool ass fight. Like I said before, the best fights are between Sub-Zero and Scorpion. So they fight, and it's a pretty brutal, nasty fight, and it's great. And at a certain point, Sub-Zero, Cole gets mixed up back in the thing, and he and Scorpion fight the two of them. And Scorpion's fire ends up melting things a little bit so Cole's family can get free. And eventually they beat Sub-Zero enough that he just gets beaten down, and then Scorpion does his fire breath finishing where he just burns people alive. And then he keeps talking to Cole, but he keeps speaking Japanese, and it's like, at no point in the movie was there any indication that Cole could speak Japanese. He even mentions that he's an orphan from Chicago. It's just like, I don't know what about that would indicate he would know Japanese, but somehow he just seems to understand Hanzo, or he's just doing the polite thing where somebody speaks to you in a different language and you're just like, yeah, cool. Yeah, good. I've done that. Anyways, after they beat Sub-Zero, Scorpion says thanks Cole for helping him and says he's free, and then he just disappears back to the Nether Realm where the dead are. And then that's when Raiden and the others show up. I don't know why they didn't show up earlier, but they showed up then. And he looks at how he killed Sub-Zero, and he's like, "Oh, I'm impressed," and everything. And then Shang Tsung shows up again, and it's just like, he's like, "You might have killed my men, but next time I'm coming with an army," and blah, blah, blah. And then Raiden just uses lightning and says, "Get the hell out of Earthrealm," because he's like, "You've lost this tournament. You've lost this time. So get the fuck out." And he sends him away. And then Raiden says, he's like, "I'll have to pick new champions." And he's like, "Okay, well, just let us know." He's like, "We'll get them, and we'll get them ready for the next tournament." And then there's an indication. Then it shows Cole. He's back at the gym, but now it's not frozen anymore. There's no mention of. He's like, "Oh yeah, my gym was completely covered in ice." He's like, "Yeah, I'm not taking fights to lose anymore." He's like, "I'm going to Hollywood," and it shows on a wall. It shows a movie poster for a Johnny Cage movie, indicating that that there will be a sequel and that Johnny Cage will be a part of it. So if this movie makes enough money, which it very well might, it's escapist nonsense at a time when people probably really want escapist nonsense. I mean, fucking Godzilla vs. Kong did well, so I don't see why this one wouldn't. Yeah, there probably will be a sequel, and it will include Johnny Cage amongst other characters. There were hints at a bunch of other characters in this movie. I don't know, I don't really remember Mortal Kombat very well. It's been a long time since I played a Mortal Kombat game. I don't dislike fighting games, I'm just not very good at them, so I dislike getting my ass handed to me. But yeah, so yeah, that's it. That's the movie. And then it ends with a remake of the techno song from the original movie, which made me laugh. I give it seven stars. Wait, no, I do a 5-star system. I give it 4 stars, 2 thumbs up. It's a good movie. Like I said, it's the right amount of stupid, and it has action scenes that range from cool to ridiculous. The story is just nonsense that is ill-explained and makes no sense. But fuck it, you're there for mindless bloody action, and that's what you get a lot of. There's not a lot. It wasn't like Godzilla versus Kong where there's these ridiculously long and unnecessary pieces with, characters that had nothing to do with anything, that they're just there to add humanity that wasn't even needed. There's minor of that in this movie. Everything is just to serve the ridiculous and overly fast storyline. But you know what? That beats a movie that gets unnecessarily stretched out, so I liked it. I liked it overall. It was utter nonsense, and I liked it. So yeah, Mortal Kombat gets an A-OK rating for me. I don't even know if that's a rating. Holy shit, I'm tired. Yeah, so that's my review. Mortal Kombat. I recommend watching it. If you got nothing better to do and you just want a movie you don't really have to think about, it's a good watch. Alright. Till next time, folks.